going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Super Hornet podcast. It's your boy Evan Hale. And today we're doing a little fun little episode. We're doing a Q&A. So I asked a question on Twitter the other day, and I've been a little busy. But we got just getting to the questions. So we're just gonna pull them up one at a time, or some of them multiple at a time. And yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. So first question here is three questions, but they're all asking similar things. So we got my boy Logan. Who is the guy you would like to see the Hornets acquire, if not that's not Zion? And who is someone who could likely be moved this offseason that's not Melo? So, and then we have how much does Zion raise the ceiling of the Hornets, and do you think the Hornets trade for Zion? So I'm going to start with the Zion stuff. Zion, man, he's just somebody that is polarizing for the Hornets. Like, do I think that he could help the Hornets win and be successful if he played more than 45 games? Absolutely. Do I think that most of his missed time last year was due to him being asked to sit out because of the lottery odds and not wanting him to get hurt? Yeah. He even has quotes saying that he could play back-to-back so the team wouldn't let him. Are Joe Dumars and the Pelicans regime shopping him around, and because of that he might have a decent asking price? Yeah, I think so. Do I think we should trade for him? I really don't know. Because he's just polarizing, man. He's from the Carolinas, grew up in South Carolina, played college ball at Duke in North Carolina. And, a lot of fans really like him. And, he's got a lot of history in the area. And the front office would likely make calls on him because of that. And I would be okay trading for him depending on the price. I mean, if you give up Miles Bridges, that Miami first, maybe one of our own firsts, Josh Green and Nick Smith Jr., like 2 firsts and Miles Bridges and some guys who aren't that good on our team, yeah, sure. I'm here for it. But I don't know what the price is going to be. Like Zion, LaMelo, and Brandon Miller and Mark Williams, they're all healthy. And then whatever shooting guard, small forward you throw in there, depending on where you want to run Brandon Miller, that could be a good team in the East, especially if they see, like I said, stay healthy. I think they can make some more moves around the edges, because that would be kind of a win now move. But Zion does still fit the timeline, so you can make some moves to add some more depth. I mean, you would keep Trey Mann and Grant Williams and in that regard, and Musa Diabate. That's a lot of your bench, but build out the roster a little bit more. I think that it could really work. I saw that to say, I'm not as worried about Zion's injury concern as much, but you still have to worry about it. I think a change of scenery could help, but I'm not 100% sold on it. And then who do I think, other than Zion? I mean, Domantas Sabonis, I'll pull that picture back up. It's like Domantas Sabonis could be a guy if he's available. I think we'll talk about it later, but I don't think anybody is safe other than LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller this offseason. So, but yeah, no, I like the Zion idea to a degree, but it's got to be the right price, the right moves, and all that stuff. So we will see how it goes with that. Next question here, we from JJ. I didn't shout it about here. It was Red Dino, it was Octo, and it was Logan. Give everybody a follow if you're watching the video. Thank you so much for leaving your questions, guys. I really appreciate it. Next question is from JJ. Do you think we're going to be in the trade market this offseason? So I really do think we're going to be in the trade market this offseason. Hoops Hype had the report about a month ago. The Hornets are basically open to trading anybody who's not named LaMelo or Brandon Miller. I think Mark Williams could be gone. I think Miles Bridges could be gone. I give him about a 50-50 chance. I think Nurkic could get traded as an expiring deal next year. We have, Josh Green could be a guy who's on the move. He led the team in 3-point percentage for a volume of over 200 plus threes in a game. Threes made in the season. I think he could be peddled to a contender for maybe a young piece or draft capital. The front office has been really good about getting value out of trades. I think we could trade for a third star. Zion. I mean, Sabonis could be available. I mean, hell, even Giannis might be available if the Bucks losing 4 or 5 in the series. They came out looking real sad against Pacers the other night. I'm not saying that we would get him, but the team has the assets to get him at least. I mean, we have 9 firsts over the next 5 drafts. But it just depends on how big of a trade the front office wants to make. I think that the fan base has been very vocal about their frustration with the team and, with everything that has to do. So there is a world where they make a win now move, not a win now move, but a be competitive now move that fits the timeline. Sabonis was 30 years old, I think, maybe not even that old. Oh, I should know this. He's 28. I think Zion's 25. Giannis is 29, I think. He's 30. So he'd be a little bit older than the timeline, but I mean, he's Giannis, so he's Giannis. God, he's Giannis. You trade if you could trade for Giannis, you just trade for Giannis. He's one of those guys. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if there were 5 or 6 new guys on the roster come next year. At least like 4, But it's definitely I'm definitely curious on how things are going to go with that. So thank you, JJ, for the question. Next questions are from I think it's Drek. I always read it as Drek, but I don't know if that's right. Is a hopeful Hornets fan, and then Hornets Muse. Shout out both these guys. Out of all the negatives this season, what's your biggest positive takeaway, and then what's your best takeaway from the season? So very similar questions here, so I lumped them together, but I wanted to give both of them their love. There's a couple things. So the season did suck. So let's be real at first. But there are a couple things. The obvious one is Moussa Diabate. I mean, he's an animal. What can you say? He's going to be one of the centers of the future in Charlotte. And every time he subs into a game, he has an immediate impact. I mean, he's grabbing an offensive rebound. He's getting a block. He's getting the steal. He's doing something right. He's, pick and roll for a dunk. He's doing something immediately. Every time he subs into the game, he within a minute, there will be something that he accomplishes. And he makes the right plays all the time. And he's so much fun to watch. And he's going to contribute to winning basketball as well. And then, this could be viewed as a negative, but I see it as a positive. Trey Mann and Grant Williams, they're recovering nicely. And, at the start of the year, they played amazing. The team started 6-9. And you got to remember that those first 15 games, we were missing Brandon Miller for most of those games. And we're missing Mark Williams for all of those games. They're both recovering well. Trey Mann just said he's playoff basketball is coming in Charlotte next season. Is what he said. So I was a little concerned because we hadn't heard much from Trey Mann. He'd been radio silent since the injury, but he's putting out videos. He's looking really good. He's playing basketball. He's dunking. That's huge. I think that he maybe was ready to come back at the end of the season like Mark Williams was last year, but they just said, no, we're already cooked. Just save yourself. We'll bring you back next year. We're going to sign you to a decent contract or to a good contract for you, and we'll get you back next year, and you're going to look as good as new. I think they probably have an under the table agreement that they're going to sign him to a deal that he likes. So he was just going to sit out because he isn't worried about what other teams are worried about him, And Grant Williams, I mean, he tore everything in his knee basically, and he's out there walking around. I met him at the player meeting a couple weeks ago now, and he was, saw him walking around there. He looked good. And I mean, he isn't somebody who focuses on the physicality and explosiveness and high flying isn't part of what he does. So him having that injury is going to affect him, I think, a little less than everybody else. I mean, and LaMelo is another guy I would have positives about. I know he didn't play that many games this year, and he got worse as the year went on. But we now know that he was struggling with those injuries on his wrist and his ankle that, I don't know if the surgery went bad or if he recovered poorly, what have you. But it was causing severe pain in both of them. And it looks like it got worse over the season based on how he played. And they had the small operation to fix him. He should be back ready to play basketball in less than a month now from when he had a surgery. I mean, the injury, they hurt his efficiency. He would get, when he was playing at his best, he was driving to the basket and getting to his floater, And I think he lost the ability to drive and be explosive like that because of the ankle, and then also it was his shooting wrist that was hurt. I mean, if you're feeling pain every time you move your wrist, shooting the ball is going to get harder for you. So he played through that, and they shut him down at the end of the year, but especially early on in the season, he was had be like listed as questionable with the ankle and the wrist pain and injury management, but he would still come into play. But as guys went down throughout the year, it just seemed like less and less worth it to have him play. But I mean, he was averaging 37 and 7 at the All-Star break. And I think he fell off because of the injuries and also because the roster as a whole went down. He lost Brandon Miller around then. And, I'm very hopeful and positive about his future with the team because of everything we've seen. I think he's going to be a lot more healthy next year because they're fixing the issues that he did have. Injuries that he sustained during the year. He had one ankle injury that kept him out for like 5 games, and that was it. Because he's wearing the braces now. I think he had the calf strain that he missed a couple games with. But other than that, those are, the ankle injury would have ended his season last year just about, and he only missed 5 games. So I'm very hopeful for how he's taking care of his body and how good he's going to be next year. So I'm very positive about that. And also one more positive I'm going to take away. There's a few more things I could list, but I don't want to go too crazy. It's Charles Lee. He is a polarizing character in the Hornets fan base, but I think he's a good takeaway. I wasn't always a fan of his rotations, especially early in the year. But you got to remember, he's a brand new head coach. He's got growing pains. He's learning, and they weren't trying to win this year anyway, so they were okay having a new coach who, was learning and is learning. And I think he was figured out and had better rotations as the year went on. I wanted Musa to play more, but I think they were trying to get that Nurkic value up to potentially trade him this offseason or maybe, the following season. So, or Mark Williams might get moved as well. So we'll see how that goes for him. But I think that's a big reason why he didn't play Musa as much as I would have liked in the second half of the season. But he had a lot of buy-in, especially on the defense side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball with the players. I mean, there was a lot of high intensity defense played, especially early in the season. It kind of died when the roster dropped, started dropping like flies. Like even LaMelo, who's notoriously a bad defender, was making hustle plays that he wasn't making in previous seasons. I mean, a lot of it feels like guys really got up to play defense. Like they was incentivized to play defense, and that's pretty exciting to see. So those are my positives. Thank you guys again. Hornets Muse and Drek is a hopeful Hornets fan. Next question here we got from Jeff. If the Hornets get the second or third pick in the draft, who do we get? So I'll do an answer for each draft pick. So I'm not a draft expert. I don't ever claim to be. I have had people on the show who know more about the draft than me because I want to hear from them about the draft. And I've learned a lot from them, but I'm not an expert myself. But I do have kind of an idea of who I'd want Charlotte to take it to the second and third picks. So if we get the second pick again, I might go crazy because I might crash out. I mean, if we don't get the first pick and we get the second pick for another, talent like Cooper Flag, I'm gonna lose it. But once I kind of would calm down, I would be excited. I think the consensus number 2 pick is a 19-year-old guard out of Rutgers, Dylan Harper. I mean, he's a great combo guard. He can play with the ball in his hands. He can play off ball. It's having a secondary ball handler other than LaMelo, it is good for the Hornets because I think LaMelo will be healthy next year, but it is good insurance to have for LaMelo. He can also start at the 2. I mean, he's 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan. Or he could be a bench point guard, kind of run the backcourt in the back, like the backup backcourt with Trey Mann. It really just comes down to if you want to run Brandon at the 2 or the 3. And it seems like this front office and coaching wants to run Brandon at the 2. But I think I could see a world where they put him at the 3 if you get the second pick. And I'm going to keep that kind of mindset going into the third pick. So I think there's 2 options if the Hornets get the third pick. If you think that Brandon Miller, if you want to keep Brandon at the 2, I think you pick Ace Bailey. He's 19 as well. Also went to Rutgers. He's a forward. He's 6'9", with a 6'11" wingspan. He's got good positional size. He's attacks the basket at will. He's a good inside scorer, but he can score at all three levels. He shot 35% from three. And he kind of had some poor shot selection at times. I think that can be kind of coached. I think his field goal percentage could have been a lot higher, but like I said, he took some dumb mid range jump shots, and but he can score at all three levels. And like I said, he attacks the basket, and the Hornets desperately need a guy who can get to the basket, attack at will. I mean, we need one of the worst teams in the league for free throw percentage, free throw attempts, and I think he would help a lot with that. He's a good defender. He's got good positional size for defense. He's also switchable. I think he's got good. He can guard 1 through 4 if needed. He's got good defensive IQ. A lot of last season he got he was a good help defender. He got a lot of weak side blocks from helping the help side. And I think he projects to be a very good player, but his floor could still be something beneficial for the Hornets. I think his floor is kind of like a Michael Porter Jr. Kind of in that mold. Maybe that might be a little too high for a floor. Let me calm down. But someone in that mold, a nice 3-and-D wing, role player is kind of his floor. But if you could run Brandon at the 3, I could also have see a world where we take VJ Edgecombe, the 6'4" guard out of Baylor. I was at the first round of March Madness this year when Baylor played against Mississippi State, and he didn't score a lot of points. He didn't light up the box score, but he contributed to win like crazy, man. I have video on talking about all the prospects I saw in person, and he was the second highest guy I was on. Second guy I was highest on other than Cooper Flagg. I didn't. To be fair, he is a top 4 projected pick. And the only other guy who was above him was Cooper Flagg. But I mean, he is a little undersized, but he has a long wing, a positive wingspan. He's 6'5" wingspan versus 6'4" frame. But he guarded 1 through 4, and even guarded center a couple times. He guarded him well, man. He is pretty strong. He is super athletic. He plays defense like it's his job. I mean, it is his job, but he takes such pride on the defensive side of the ball. He's a hustle guy. Tapped out so many offensive and defensive rebounds where he was driving to the basket and just tipped the ball out and he was also not just you see some guys tip it out randomly. He tipped it out to 2 guys. He not only jumped in the air and made the athletic play, but also was aware of where the guys were and tipped the ball to them. Dove on every loose ball he could. Was in the passing lanes. I mean, he's awesome to watch play in person. I'm excited to watch him play at the next level, regardless of where he plays. But he's just an athletic freak. I mean, and I think the coaching staff's really going to like him for that, just because of his hard-nosed defense and his athleticism. And he can score well from the mid-range. He shot 34% from 3, which actually is really good because scouts didn't think he was going to be that good of a shooter. It was like a 5.2 attempts, I'm pretty sure. I have the stats down, but I don't remember the exact how many he shot. I just have the percentage. His playmaking leaves more to be desired. He is kind of turnover prone, but I think that those can be things that are easily improved with an NBA coaching. He kind of is he was the college equivalent of Pacers Victor Oladipo, maybe a little bit smaller but more explosive athletically. I mean, I'd be happy with both these guys. The Hornets get either of them. I think that they can benefit the team very well. It just depends on what direction they're trying to go with this team, and especially Brandon Miller. I think we know how good Brandon Miller can be, or we don't know how good Brandon Miller can be, but we have some ideas, and I think that they're going to do what's best for Brandon Miller first because he's already on the team. But yeah, thank you again so much, Jeff, for the question. Next we're going to do is FDA the GOAT. FDA GOAT. What's your opinion on LaMelo still being our franchise 1A? So LaMelo is a polarizing guy in the just in the fan base in general. And I'm not here to say, if you have opinion, you're wrong. I'm gonna start by saying I really love LaMelo. Like I want to start with that. Like I am a big fan of LaMelo Ball. Like, but do I think that he could be a 1A of a title contender? I don't think so. But I do think he could be like a 1A, 1B with another elite talent and be on a competitor, like a competitive team, a team who competes for something. LaMelo does have things he needs to improve on if he's going to be a 1A on a competitor. He needs to be more efficient and not settle as much. I said earlier that he had the injuries and they were so bothering him. I think that affected his efficiency a lot, but he still he would still regress back to his shot chucking, taking deep threes early in the shot clock, not attacking as much. But I'm hoping that with the recovery and with some more time with the coaching staff who want him to attack more and not take as many dumb shots, and they kind of coached out of him a little bit, that he will improve on that. He also turns the ball over a lot. He hasn't been under 3.3 turnovers since his rookie year. And I think that if you put more talent around him, that'll ease up the pressure on him, which will cause him to have less turnovers. So that's kind of just roster improvement as a whole. But he also does make some boneheaded decisions, and he, makes some dumb passes, some jumps for shots, and then tries to pass out of it after he realizes it wasn't a good idea. My cat is deciding he wants to sit on my lap while we're recording here. Sorry about that. He needs to work on some of those turnover issues. But I think he can get better at those. I think he can be a guy who scores 25 points per game and he gets like 9 to 10 assists, like 7 boards on a really good team. And I think if you put more talent around him where he doesn't have to score as much, it'll help. I mean, take that pressure off of him, or he'll have long stretches. I mean, he's had multiple months where he's averaged like 32 points per game. He did it last November. He did it this like November 2 years ago. He did it for a stretch. He did it from October to January this year. But if you could just take that scoring pressure off of him, for where the defense start only focusing on him, and he can just score like 25 points a game and still be like a explosive guy who can score 40 points if need be. That could really help. I think if the Hornets win the lottery and they add Cooper Flag, I know that's like a big if, but you add Cooper Flag or you add another star player next to LaMelo, and you have for Cooper Flag as an example, if you have Cooper Flag, LaMelo Ball, and Brandon Miller, I think LaMelo can create for himself, create for others, and also contribute to winning basketball. So it just depends on how quickly they build up this roster for him. I think that's the biggest thing. Thank you again, FDA Go. Next question. From Atlanta Braves enthusiast. It is top 5 realistic options for the Hornets for the center. Okay, top 5 realistic center options for the Hornets next year. So, this one I'm gonna do kind of quick with this one. Mark Williams, Musa Diabate, and Yusuf Nurkic are all 3 realistic options. I think you keep 2 of them on your roster going into next year at least. The only I could see the Hornets target maybe Miles Turner in free agency. He's a free agent this offseason, unrestricted. He does fit what the Hornets are trying to do with they run the actions with the center at the 3-point line. You have a spacing center. I mean, even Nurkic created more space, and he isn't that good of a shooter from outside. So, if you could get Miles Turner, then maybe move off of Mark Williams for more depth, or for maybe another star player like we were talking about before, that could fit what you're trying to do. I could also see, I mentioned him before, Domantas Sabonis. He's the guy who could likely ask out this summer, who could be a center we trade for. But I think, like I said, I think the Hornets are going to keep at least 2 of their current centers going into next season. Another name who you could think about is Naz Reid, but I think that the Timberwolves are going to throw him a bag. I mean, that's a big reason why they traded Cat, was to have money to sign him and to extend Ant. So, and pay the guys in their roster. So I think Naz Reid's getting a lot of money this offseason from the Timberwolves. I think the Hornets will be out of that race. Next question is I think it's a really fun one. Also, thank you again, Atlanta Braves enthusiast, for the question. It's from Carolina Sniper, and I like the little snowboarder is your name here. That's your little profile name. But it's who's the most underrated Hornet of all time? I like this question a lot. One name came to my mind immediately, and I'm actually going to go with a Bobcat, not a Hornet. It's Crash, Jared Wallace. I mean, he played for the Hornets for it was 5 seasons. He averaged 17.6 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.9 steals, and 1.2 blocks. During his duration with the team, he was also an All-Star in 2010, All-Defensive First Team in 2010, was a Steals Champ in 2005, 2006. He finished third in DPOY in 2010. Dude was just an energy guy. Like he was electric. He contributed so much to those Bobcats teams, and that was a time when I was really falling in love with basketball, and he was just so much fun to watch. Michael Jordan, being the lousy, cheap owner that he was, traded him in 2011 with payroll concerns for essentially nothing. The only thing of value the Hornets got back from that trade, so then they got like Joel Prisbilla and a couple other players that you probably never heard of. That's essentially what it was. They got a 2011 first in that trade, which was Tobias Harris. They immediately traded that Tobias Harris in a 3-team trade for Corey Maggette and the pick that it was used to take Bismack Biyombo. So Corey Maggette was okay for the Hornets, nothing crazy. But Bismack Biyombo, I think I saw a thing that he has the most games played for the Hornets out of any active NBA player right now. But so I mean, but you still traded him, Gerald Wallace, for nothing. But because of the Bobcats era, I think people just kind of want to forget about the Bobcats. And it sucks because you forget about guys like Gerald Wallace, guys who only played for the Bobcats. You know, you have guys like Kemba who played for both, but you just remember him in that sparkly, teal Hornet jersey and not the Bobcats. So shout out Gerald Wallace, such a fun guy to watch. Shout out Carolina Sniper for the question. Might be my favorite question of the day. Next question. I put these together for a reason. What are our standings looking like next season? And will Coach Lee be our guy moving forward? And how do you stay motivated for a Hornets season year after year when they suck? So shout out Heave, shout out Miserable Charlotte's fan. I put these together because I feel like their answers are similar. Or at least they connect to each other. I think Lee is going to be a good coach. I think you give him a full off season with the team after his first season of being the head coach, the head guy, and having learned, I think it's gonna be good for him. I don't know what the win total is gonna be next year, though, to be fair, because the team, we don't have the roster. We don't know who's gonna be. I mean, if the roster's healthy, I think this current roster can win 35 games, somewhere in that range, maybe a little bit more. I just got to see everybody healthy together. I don't want this roster to be our roster next year. I don't think it is either. But I don't want to sell you how many wins we're gonna have because I have no idea what team we're gonna have next year. But I think the reason I stay motivated is the same reason I believe in Charles Lee. The team isn't run or coached by the same people anymore. We have all new people in charge, and the new people are getting their footing and trying to evaluate who we have and make the right moves. And, they're still learning and they're still I don't want to say that they don't know what they're doing, but they're still trying to take in all the information and make the right moves. I'm happy that our team did go full Phoenix Suns, Matt Ishbia, as soon as they bought the team. Trade all your picks, trade all your young pieces for a star and not have a solid base around those players. And then you are a team who doesn't have any more assets and are in no position to improve your roster. I think the Hornets have won every trade they've made. Terry Rozier doesn't play basketball anymore. He's all the pictures of him with the Heat or him on the bench. He's suited up, but he doesn't ever take off his warm-ups. He doesn't even sub in when they're getting blown out, which is just weird. Even Jaime Jaquez comes in, but he's not a guy you don't see him play anymore. And we got a first for him. Gordon Hayward essentially retired right after the trade. We got Trey Mann and Micic for him. And Trey Mann's going to be a piece of the future for the team, I'm pretty sure. And Gordon Hayward didn't play any meaningful minutes for Oklahoma City last year. Or he played very few meaningful minutes last year and did not contribute to them winning. And mostly was a bench guy. So yeah, PJ, he went to a good team and he was part of a finals run last year, but Dallas traded Luka. They got older, and now we own the 2027 first. And we got Grant Williams and Seth Curry, who are two Charlotte natives who, have a lot of connections with the team and believe in the team and are very positive forces for the Hornets. So even though PJ had the finals run, I think his production alone has not been enough to outweigh that 2027 pick, especially with, Kyrie just tore his ACL. I mean, pray for Kyrie. I love Kyrie. But Kyrie tore his ACL. Clay is 35, 34. 80s, 32. I mean, you got an aging team there. 2027, they're going to be, they're going to be old. And I don't know how much more winning they're going to be doing there. The Hornets also traded with the Suns twice. They got Nurkic for Cody Martin and Vasa Micic. Vasa Micic just had a contract overseas. He's not even in the NBA anymore. Cody Martin didn't sit up for the Suns. And we got a first in Nurkic. Nurkic played well with the Hornets, and we got it's going to be late first. I think it's going to end up conveying as a Cleveland first next year, which is going to be pretty low. It's going to be mid-20s, low, to high 20s. High 20s, 28, 29. And we got Nurkic, who, like I said, is going to be an expiring contract next year, who could be valuable to some teams. And I think we increased his value because he did play pretty well for the Hornets. We also traded Nick Richards to the Hornets, to the Suns for Josh Okogie in multiple seconds. And I will say Nick Richards did start off really well with them, but the Hornets didn't want to pay Nick Richards. He wanted starting center money. He wanted to be a starting center, and he just wasn't ever going to pass up. He wasn't ever going to be good enough to pass up Mark Williams or whoever we replaced Mark Williams with as a starting center. So you get Josh Okogie, who has played well. He was hurt for a lot of the year. Got that Charlotte luck there at the end of the year. But we got multiple seconds and Okogie. I think Okogie could be a guy who contributes to the future of this team. He's young. I think he's 26. Feels pretty bought into the team. He plays great defense. I mean, you would see him the way he talked to the other players on the bench. He was regularly coaching guys up on the defensive side of the ball. Dude is just, he plays defense. He makes it fun to watch defense. There are a fair few guys in the NBA who are like that. He's fun to watch play defense. I think he could be a guy that is like a backup 3 for this team going forward, which is pretty exciting, And you can call me dumb or naive, and I just think this front office has done well so far. I think I'm giving them and Charles Lee the benefit of the doubt. I believe that Charles Lee will be a good coach, and I think this team is going to be okay come the future. I just think they got to use the assets that they've acquired to capitalize on and make some moves to improve the roster. Okay, so now we are down to our final question. It's 2 of them, and these are favorite questions. So, who's your favorite player you ever met? And my playoff predictions I'll give at the end of the video. That's from my boy OJ Buzz City. And then Chantel, I think it's how you say her name. She said, I asked her because I wanted to make sure. But that's how it read. Who's your favorite NBA player or a player you enjoy watching who are not on the Hornets? Okay, so shout out both of them. We're going to start with the guys who are my favorite players who aren't on the Hornets. So my favorite guys who aren't on the Hornets are actually on the same team now. It's Luka and LeBron. So my dad's from Akron, Ohio. So LeBron's a big guy. Reason I got into basketball. Watched him in Cleveland, watched him in Miami, became a Hornets fan when he was in Miami. So in 2010, 2009. Well, I guess it was before he moved to Miami. I was a Hornets fan, and then watched him support him in Miami as well. Um, I've been a fan of his. I want to see him succeed wherever he goes, as long as he's not playing the Hornets at this point. I'm happy to see him win. And then Luka he's Luka, man. He's one of the most fun guys in the NBA to watch play basketball. Um, I literally named my cat Luka. I have a kitten. She's just about to hit a year old, so she's not a kitten anymore. But I named her Luka. My fiance had mentioned, does she look like a luchador? I'm like, let's call her Luka. I'm like, maybe after Luka Doncic too. Why not? But so I have those are my two favorites. My favorite guys to watch. I mean, there's so many, dude. I mean, Steph, KD, Kawhi, Jokic, Dame, Kyrie. I mean, Wemby. I mean, Steph and KD. I mean, sometimes what they do is like magic out there. I mean, you watch Steph Curry. I mean, you watch him in the Olympics. You watch him. I mean, game one of the playoffs, man. Kevin Harlan said that should not be like possible. He had some quote with it. Oh my gosh, what was it? I said that should not be physically possible or something. Like it was just something crazy. But just the things that they do with the ball is incredible. When they get hot, it's awesome. And then Kawhi, when Kawhi's hot, he does not miss. He's a freaking robot out there, and it's so much fun to watch. I hate when he's hurt, and he's hurt too much. But you get him in the playoffs, and you get him feeling it. He went. I'm recording this the day after they tied up the series with the Nuggets. He went 15 for 19 for 30. I want to say 35 or 39 points, something like that. He went crazy. Jokic, I mean, dude, 7-footer, like 280 pounds. He plays like he looks tired. He looks tired every time he plays, which is funny. But making the craziest passes. He puts the ball behind his head, shooting threes just at the buzzer. They're going in. He plays basketball like it's easy. Like it's just he doesn't have to try, and he obviously is trying, but it's so much fun to watch. Like it's just the best. I mean, when Dame gets hot, I mean he scored 71 points in a basketball game. That's all you gotta say, man. He can't miss, and then Dame time. I mean, he's just some of the most iconic buzzer beaters of all time. So much fun to watch. Even I mean, when he first joined Milwaukee last year, I mean there was that game that went to overtime against the Kings, or it might have almost went to overtime, but he hit that three, like got the inbound pass, drove down the court, and hit a three at the buzzer. And I looked at my fiance. I'm like, that's going in. I'm like, there's no way. Like, watch, he's gonna make the shot, and he made it. And that's just, And then you got Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie is a wizard. They would have burned him at the stake in the 50s. I mean, simple as that. He's the most impressive ever been watching a player play in person. Just he hits the craziest layups. He dribbles a ball like he's got it on a string. I mean, you just can't not be romantic about basketball watching Kyrie play basketball. I mean, it's just simple as that. And then you got Wemby. I mean, Wemby is just, I mean, he's an alien. First, I went to the Spurs game the last 2 years. So his rookie year, he didn't play, but he was there. He had tweaked his ankle, and then we're going to try to have him run, but they just decided to be safe. I've been on NBA players. I'll give a story here in a minute about me being on NBA players. He's so much taller than NBA players. It's freaky. I mean, he's 7'5", and he's thin, but he's also like muscular, and he looks crazy. And then you watch him play, and he just warming up, taking half court shots, making them. He's freaky to watch play, and he's just so good. He's the future of the league, and I'm so happy and I'm so excited about that. So there's my favorite players to watch, and just favorite players in general. Obviously, LeBron and Luka, they're wizards themselves. LeBron's LeBron. I mean, the greatest player to ever do it. You can argue in the comments if you want. Every comment boosts my stuff. So if you Michael Jordan fan, complain about it in the comments. Give me 7 of them. I just make sure you like the video. And then Luka, I mean, Luka is just, I mean, I could put Prime Harden on here too, very similar to Luka, just things they can do with the ball and the way they can move. It's just incredible, man. So the second half of that was, well, the other question from my boy OJ Favorite Hornets player that I met. I've said the story before, but I met a bunch of the Hornets players at a season ticket holder event that I was a guest of my friend LeeTheHornet of. So shout out to him. He's LeeTheHornet on TikTok. He's a huge content guy. He's way bigger than I am, but he go give him a follow if you don't on TikTok. He's the man. He runs a bunch of other TikTok pages, and he's got a lot of followers. And he's a very cool dude, very great guy. But he's a big Hornets fan, so shout out to him. But I got to meet every Hornets player because of him, other than Trey Mann. Trey Mann was not there, which is part of the reason why I was concerned he wasn't going to be on the Hornets anymore. But he has made statements basically saying that he's coming back, so that's very exciting. I'm going to preface this by saying I was in my Super Hornet attire. I was in my cape, in my hat, in my glasses, in my chain. So I was how I dressed at the games, which kind of enhanced my interactions with the players. So the first guys I met had an impact were Musa and Nurkic. I was wearing a Musa Diabate jersey, which I was the only person there wearing one of those. So I think it made him extra happy. But they both loved the jersey, man. Musa was hyped. Nurkic kept saying, show the heat, because I wore this big chain when I dress up with the Hornet stuff. So I had to. He's like, move it. So I'm grabbing the chain, but he's like, Nurkic is so excited. I'm grab the chain and I move it, and they're like pointing at my jersey, and Nurkic has the biggest smile on his face, and like it's also cool. Like I said, I've been around NBA players. I'm 6'4", probably 6'5" with shoes on. Dude, these guys are 7 foot tall. I look tiny next to them, and it's really weird. Like I got pictures next to Miles Bridges standing up, and Daquan Jeffries and Jalen Sims, and I was a little shorter than them, but like not that much shorter than them. These guys, I look like a child next to these guys. It's freaking hilarious. But they were so cool. Both of them were awesome. So excited about my jersey and so excited about my outfit in general. And then as I'm leaving, Musa reached out and dapped me up, and he was just like waving people by, but he dapped me up because it was cool. And when you just dap me up just right, and it pops and like echoes. Did we hit the perfect dap as I'm saying goodbye? Dap him up in a slow when everybody kind of looks, and he says appreciates me, and we get going, and it was just so cool. So that was so cool. That's one of my favorite moments in the Spectrum Center. I'll tell you that much. I also met Josh Okogie. That was in the locker room, which was cool. But I had made a sign for him when he joined the Hornets after the Nick Richards trade, and he remembered me. He remembered the sign. Obviously, I was dressed up, but it was just cool that it meant something to him enough that he remembered me. So that was cool. There's like a cool picture where he I'm talking to him, and going into the picture with me and him and Seth Curry, and I'm like kind of putting my arms around him. And he kind of looked at me. He's like, "You were the guy!" Like, and it's a cool video. He's like smiling and pointing at me, like realizing that I did the sign. So that was cool. Also, the last favorite person I met was Mello. The line to meet him was really long, and I didn't know if I was going to meet him. So I went to every other player first, and then they let me in at the end of the line. Basically, I was like the third to last person to meet him of the night. But the line was so long, and I got to watch him interact with everybody as we went through. And he was very personable, very nice, but he was kind of kept it short with everybody. Said hi, usually gave him a little fist bump, especially to the kids. And that was kind of that. Smiled, he said, "Have a good night." He's a very nice guy. You can tell he's very nice, very personable. But when I walked up, he reached out, dapped me up, and kind of gave me like one of those like half bro hugs. And I was nervous because he just had the wrist surgery on his right hand. So he's going to dap me up, and he kind of goes in kind of hard. And I'm like, oh, and I kind of dap him up and kind of give him like a half little bro hug thing. He's like, "How you been, man?" He said like, "How you been, bro?" was what he said. How you been, bro? And which is not how he interacted with anybody else. And like I've like been close to LaMelo, like at games, and I'm a big fan. Obviously, I dress up to the games, and I've like walked by him in the tunnel before, but never talked to him, never even dapped him up or like gave him a fist bump or nothing. But like he knew who I was, asked me how I'd been. It was just cool. Like it felt like way more personable than any other person I saw him interact with, and it was neat. It felt like I felt very seen as a Hornets fan, because I do go crazy for the Hornet stuff, and I do a lot of that stuff. So to be seen felt nice. It felt good. And I was happy that he knew I was. And it's pretty cool. He felt happy to see me, and that was cool. So those are my favorite Hornets players that I met. I mean, I was happy to meet them all. They were all nice. Didn't have a bad experience meeting anybody. But yeah, no, I was super cool. Shout out LeeTheHornet again. Please give him a follow on TikTok. I'm gonna link him in the description, and he doesn't know that. I don't even know if he's gonna watch the video. That is my boy, and I do love my boy. But last thing, playoff predictions. I made a video about this. I picked my first round series. My picks are looking right now. Some of them are good, some of them are not good. But so you can watch that video. I'll link that one in the description as well. But for like my overall playoff prediction, I got the Thunder beating the Celtics in the championship game. I mean, I think the leading up to the finals is going to be fun, but at the end of the day, I think we all know that it's going to be the Thunder and the Celtics in the finals. And the Thunder are just so deep, and they're so good on the defense. Well, they're good on both sides of the ball. But I would say they have like the second or third best defense since 2000. I would maybe put the like 04 Pistons above them. But that 04 Pistons team couldn't score the ball, So, like, it would be like, yeah, you're not scoring on me, but I'm not scoring on you either. That's not the Thunder, man. They're gonna, dominate you on the defense side of the ball, and then take that ball, and they're gonna go down there and score it, and you're gonna be down by 30 before you know it. I mean, they beat the freaking Grizzlies by 50. Like, that's crazy. It's a playoff game. They won by 50. That shouldn't be possible. But yeah, no. So I got the Thunder winning it all. I hope we get a bunch of good series. I feel like this first round is going to be awesome. But yeah, no. This was a fun episode of the Super Hornet podcast. I was going to have this be my call glass, but episode because I was hoping I'd get more NBA questions as a whole. But it was mostly Hornets fans, which makes sense. Got a lot of Hornets fan people on my Twitter. So if you got any more questions you want to hear me answer, I might add a couple questions at the end of each video, depending on how it goes. So leave them in the comments. And shout out everybody for asking the questions. You guys, I appreciate you guys so much. Early support has been awesome for my channel, and I just appreciate you guys. But yeah, just go Hornets. Enjoy basketball. Got the lottery here in like 20 days, so that's exciting. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. And go Hornets and enjoy basketball.